welcome to Subjective Thoughts. And our comics for today are Last Day of H.P. Lovecraft, issues 4 and 5 by Boom Studios. Now, there is weird stuff in here, so if you are in any way squeamish, you have been warned. Also, spoilers. Alright, here are the teams. Okay, so it's been quite a while since issue 3, but that's mainly due to shipping. It's been delayed, and then yesterday I finally received these two together, and I was like, yay. And then I sat and I thought, considering what I said about issue 3, I think I might better just read these two and film about them together. And so yesterday when I read issue 4, I confirmed my thoughts that it wouldn't be much of a point in giving each one of these a video. But anyway, let's get started. So, when we left off in issue 3, Lovecraft has talked to those fans that went to, was it the Arctic or something, and I refused their offer of ice cream and sitting to write with them, and then went off into the distance and disappeared. So that was last issue, and then the beginning of issue 4, suddenly there's no real, you don't see him just appear somewhere else. He's just right there in front of, and I believe I'm not mistaken here, Stephen King, Neil Gaiman, and Alan Moore. Now, since it is the first pages, I can show you, but I'm pretty sure it's those three sitting on three thrones and telling him that, don't worry, Howie, we're going to help you. We'll write your story of your life for you, and pretty much being condescending to him, telling him that, they're much better writers, essentially. And here I'm wondering if this is a specific jab at these three. I wonder, because it kind of feels like it. I don't know. I could be wrong. You see Stephen King, slurping I think, an alcoholic drink. Also made me think that maybe this is a jab. But Mr. Lovecraft refuses them too, and then he says, that's it, I desire nothing that you have, because instead of the three of them, this this sort of creature with tentacles, sort of, not tentacles, but these appendages appears, and again, Lovecraft refuses, and that's it, and I don't desire you, and he opens a bottle of ink, and the thing gets sucked into it, and then he hears, oh, finally, and he looks at the distance, and scenery changes, and he goes, and there's a man in there. Now, I don't know who this is supposed to be. He has, it seems, one bad eye, perhaps. I'm pretty sure it's not a stylistic choice for here. It just might have one bad eye, and it's an old gentleman. And he tells Lovecraft how he would have loved to discuss things with him, even though he says, I agree with your description of yourself, because Lovecraft apparently called himself what was it? Let me check. There we go. No words left. He's in what looks to be a bookshop. That he written quite enough. He tells him he would have enjoyed conversing with him, and he does agree with him that he is nothing more than a vulgar parody of Edgar Allan Poe. Interesting. So, yeah, that's it. He tells him soon you will be dead, and that is all I have to say to you, and so go on. And then he's outside again, and he goes to like a little bookcase that's outside. He goes to a little bookcase that's outside. Again, the scenery changes. And then he's, I think it's a book about his life. And then he continues going where the scenery changes and a cat starts to follow him. And then they go to a cemetery and then the cat turns into Edgar Allan Poe. And then they continue to walk together through all sorts of, not through sorts, but passing by different houses, and one seems to be in the future. And that's all there is to issue 4. That's the end there. And then issue 5 basically continues that. They keep walking through different sceneries until they reach a tombstone, a big one. And then Edgar Allan Poe hands him a pen, and he writes his name and years of, when he was born, and then the year he dies. And then Edgar Allan Poe turns into a crow. And then there's a countdown, basically, backwards, and we see Lovecraft going back to his hospital room. And then the rocket takes off, and then there's monologuing about how, I guess he's relieved that there's really nothing. There's no fearing of the end, no, nothing really. No fear, no desire, no, like how afterlife is described, or this, like grayness and things. And then that's it, and then there's a page of, I think, someone sending a message to someone. Howard died this morning, nothing to do, thank you. Annie P. Gowell. But I don't know who that is. And then it's, I guess, the morning, and you see the same man in the beginning, that reporter, that visited him in the first issue. He's there, and he goes to Lovecraft's hospital room. And then he sees that the nurse is removing his luggage out of there. And he goes in, and on the coat hanger, there is the diary he gave him. It's a diary of life and death, but he changed it to just death diary. And then he takes it and replaces it with another book, a blank one, I believe. And then we see him turning, and it looks like he changes into Lovecraft, kind of, but maybe not. And then the man leaves the newspaper on the bed. And then we get some sentences here that Lovecraft wrote a meticulous daily account of his physical state to assist his doctor. And he only stopped making the clinical notes when he could no longer hold a pen. And that's it. That's the end. Okay, now covers. So, first we have, there's a Watson. What are you doing, Watson? You're trying to eat the flowers again. And then there's this one. This one's really fucking cool. He doesn't go to anywhere like that, though, in the comic. I feel like this might be a homage to one of his stories. Those, Cyclopean cities. So there we go. I got the red, looks like a chrome but with red. And then, okay, there's a bit of art. And like you see, it doesn't have a page, because I thought it would at least have a page like before where they show him appearing there, but he gets there and that's it. He's in front of these 3. So you see, I'm pretty sure this is Stephen King, Neil Gaiman, young Neil Gaiman, and Alan Moore. Now again, correct me down below. Maybe it's not them, but I'm pretty sure it's the 3 of them. So you see that he's drinking. And yeah, like they even say, we haven't even been born yet. So that's what made me more sure. And he said, we're famous writers, you can trust us. And we're better, and he's like, better for what exactly? Which, again, makes me think this was a jab at these three. Who knows? Okay, and then there's a cover for issue 5. I think it makes a really fucking cool picture. Though again, nothing of the sort is shown, and there's Sonya again, but she doesn't appear. That's still great colors and compositions, though. There's been a lot of, not a lot, but there's been a few options for covers here. And you see there he's with Edgar Allan Poe. They're walking. Amazing sceneries, though. But not much, you see he gives him the pen. And he turns into a crow. Okay, so that's the art. Alright, now for the story. Now, I've enjoyed the first issue, and I thought it was going to be this weird sort of adventure. Now, I do like Lovecraft stories quite a lot, especially love their manga adaptations. But I also did come to love the stories, the creepiness of them, like this thing that you can only imagine. Your imagination will, in the end, bring you the worst kind of nightmare. Because of just you not knowing what to expect. It's interesting because Lovecraft in here, I think it's maybe in his own words that, or maybe not, that, he wrote these stories so they didn't have the sense in them, this good versus evil. They didn't have any of that. Which is interesting if that's how he thought about it when he was alive. Now, yes, as I said, I enjoyed the first issue, and I thought it was just going to be this, adventure on his thoughts in his last day, but it turned out to be something, I think, more philosophical, maybe. And the thing is, that this needs to be read if you know Lovecraft's life very well. Because I don't, so a lot of the stuff that was in here just went over my head. Because I don't know really much about Lovecraft, and normally I guess it's something that, as a kid, I read the books, and like any books, and I never remembered the writer, and I didn't really care. Like, I knew someone wrote the book, but it never really mattered to me. What mattered to me was the story itself. So I think it's the same here. I didn't know anything about Lovecraft, and even if I found out something bad about him or something like that, I don't know how much I would have cared. Also, considering the man has been dead over, 100 years at this point, maybe? So it's just, again, something you have to probably read books about Lovecraft before you can read this, I think, because, again, it's not some kind of linear, some kind of story or plot that makes sense as you read it. It's just, it seemed like it would start that way, but it definitely didn't end up being that way. Which isn't necessarily bad. I don't think this miniseries is bad for that. I just think that you have to know Lovecraft's history and, his life before you can read this, because of how much there's probably here that if you don't know, it just flies over your head. At least it seems that way to me. Because, again, a lot of the stuff I don't know. There's probably meanings in here and references that I just have no idea of. Because they just literally went over my head. Which is a bummer, because I like the aesthetic of this. The art style is my kind of thing. I like this sort of weirdness, this feeling of being in this dreamlike world. But it's a shame that I just didn't get the references, the monologues of all the things the characters would say to H.P. Lovecraft. Like his friendship with Houdini, and then what happened here in issue 4 with Stephen King, Neil Gaiman, and Alan Moore. Which again, I wish I knew. Maybe it was a jab at them. Maybe they've, I don't know, in the past said something about Lovecraft. I mean, it's not a jab. I mean, the opposite is people who, I don't know, admired Lovecraft. And like they say, they call him the grandfather of horror, because he probably inspired so many generations of writers at this point. With his horror stories, because, I mean, I don't know to say, like, when Stephen King here, to see him better at horror. He and Mr. Lovecraft just have two completely different styles, so it's not even. I don't know. Now, I will say this: it's best to read this in a trade paperback. I think this is meant to be read as a trade, and Mr. Sleepy Reader did tell me that originally, because I think I haven't mentioned it that much. The gentleman who wrote this, Romualdo, I'm not even going to try to, you know what? But the writer, this is originally not in English. So it could also be a thing of maybe something's lost in translation here. But again, if this is meant to be read all together, then they should have just released it as a graphic novel or as a trade paperback immediately. And I get why they didn't. They wanted to sell covers. But if you want to read this, I recommend get the whole thing or wait for the trade and read it like that. Because if you read it in issues like I have, it's just weird events. And if you read them together, it makes more sense. Or at least you get the story a lot better. Who knows, maybe if I waited and read them all one after the other, I would have gotten a better understanding or something. Because as it stands, I didn't. I can't say I was disappointed, really. I loved looking at the art here and how the characters were designed, but again, I didn't really understand that much. What does the man, that reporter, represent? What was the whole thing meant to show you? Was it just the writers, what he imagined H.P. Lovecraft's last day as? Or what he thought it would be, or just him wanting to, I don't know, add commentary to that, to how the last day would have been, and about Lovecraft himself? There remains the question, does Mr. Again, I'm not going to attempt pronouncing that surname. I take it he has to be a fan of Lovecraft, because why else really write this? But yeah, that's really it. I don't really else to add here. I think if you're a fan of H.P. Lovecraft and you know how the man's life was and you know his history and you like comics, I would recommend giving this a read. You'll probably understand all these references, or maybe not even. Who knows what went in the mind of the writer. But at the very least, you get some really cool art. I really love this art style. And yeah, the covers are nice too. Even though covers haven't related that much to what's inside in, 20 years more? But yeah, and anyway. So this was it. Yes, I'm glad I got to see it, but if I could go back, I'd probably wait to get the trade and read it like that. Which I think I might do. I might just order the trade and not keep the single issues, because, no point reading it like that. This should have been a graphic novel, I think. But yeah, that's about all I have to say for that one. The best part here for me was the art, and maybe in the future I will read about Lovecraft's life and reread this, and then maybe I will understand it better. Who knows? We shall see. But that is it for this series. I don't know. Hey, next time I see this particular, well, I say that, I'm not gonna remember the writer's name. I don't even know how to fucking pronounce it. But yeah, that's it, folks. Again, if you love Lovecraft, you know his history, give this one a try. I wouldn't recommend if you're just looking for something to read, because this doesn't make a hell lot of sense. So that is it, folks. So let me know what you thought of these two issues or the series down below. And remember, collect what you're passionate about and share it on YouTube. Bye!